CO, hello, I am Cade Thomas, and welcome to the 52nd episode of Double Feature Movie Club. Today we're talking about two movies featuring apocalyptic visions from 2011. First, we're talking about Take Shelter, and then we're talking about Lars von Trier's Melancholia. And I am joined this week by my trusty sidekick, Diane.
I dropped again.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So yes, lots of Christmas cheer going on in my house yesterday. There was Christmas music, on the TV, along with the fireplace log and the whole family. Where I even made cocktails, a Christmas cocktail, and then I had to watch these movies. So I went from the height of joy.
Mm-hmm.
To watching these movies.
Well,
so,
you have to, you have to have the balance in life.
Oh my gosh. I was like, what? I couldn't have had 24 hours. 24 hours of feeling love and festive and full of the Christmas spirit. I could have watched a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
Instead. And would have been so much better off. But anyway, we are going to talk about this though.
We are. They are a lot.
The missed advertising of these movies.
Yes.
The wrongful advertising, whatever.
Yeah.
And,
in addition to these two movies, I also watched, earlier this week, I watched Thanksgiving, the Eli Roth horror film about Thanksgiving.
Good for you.
I don't recommend you, as you know, I talk about horror a lot, but I don't recommend you personally horror a lot, Diane, except for what was the one with the art people? Velvet Buzzsaw. I recommended you Velvet Buzzsaw.
Oh yeah, and that I did love that. I love that movie.
And I do recommend you this one.
Really?
It is funny. It is grotesque. It's a take on sort of American consumerism, and it is just a really, really good watch. And I was blown away by how much I enjoyed the movie Thanksgiving. It was incredibly well made, and campy and goofy, and like I said, it's Eli Roth, so it's gross at times, but it is the horror really is well thought out in a really interesting way. So it was very well made.
Great, I'll have to check that out. When it comes out in streaming.
Yes,
so.
yes, yeah. It was a really good movie, so I'd highly recommend that. And then also, in between the two movies, I went to go see Saltburn, which was on my list.
Oh, yeah, that's been on your list. What'd you think?
I do think it was a little bit, I did have sky-high expectations for that movie, so it was it didn't live up to that. I think it had similar problems to her other, I've only seen this and Promising Young Woman. It's the only two things I've seen from this writer-director. And it's both movies are I should really like this movie, but for some reason, and I can't even put my finger on it, I don't love it. It's it's less than the sum of its parts. I enjoyed it. I like it. But for some reason, there's some weird missing ingredient that I can't put my finger on that just stops it from being great. I do think both films asks a lot of their audience to suspend a lot of disbelief. I remember we talked about that a little bit from when we watched Promising Young Woman, and
it does.
And this one has a few of these things too. That's just oh, that's not really how that would work, but okay. I mean, to tell the story, I guess I'll go for it, and follow through with it. But so it was.
So the reviews are mixed on it. I know from what I've seen anyway. Yes.
And it's weird, all the pieces seem to work. It's just together. It's I don't know. It's odd. It resembles a film and it resembles themes, but it's similar to Promising Young Woman. It gets to the end, which I'm not going to spoil anything in this. But it gets, and you're if that was the destination, it seems that could have been done better, ahead of time. That's, and I think Promising Woman had the exact same thing. If that was if that is the destination you were wanting to arrive at, it seems odd that all the other stuff in the movie Like it like we could have been kind of building towards that a little bit further ahead in the movie than the very end, you know. And so this one kind of had that similar sort of thing. But both in the same thing, amazing performances. Like they're brilliantly cast. Well, I thought Promising Woman, like its casting was excellent, and this one as well was. The casting is stellar, and all the actors do an incredible job with it. And this one, I think, visually is just stunning, and it's enthralling in the way that it's shot, and everything. So that I think that was a huge step up. Is like, I mean, it was just beautiful to look at. But still, though, I don't know. It probably won't be in my top 10. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Well, good. So, I'm glad you got to see it. I have not really watched it. I watched a documentary about the 1982 avalanche at, let's see, Lake Tahoe, the ski resort there. I remember it happening kind of. And so when I saw it, I thought, oh, I have to watch this. Well, and the interesting thing about this documentary, first off, it's not a series. It's all happens, you know, in the same, you know, space. But it's I think it's called Buried, and they go through the whole thing till you get to the end and realize that there was one person that was buried that they rescued. Everyone else was dead. But anyway, yeah. So they kind of held that at the end, right? And the way that they talked about her and everything else is like she didn't make it, and then. Well, lo and behold, the rescue dog finds her. And it's like the first time a rescue dog had actually found someone. And she had been in a building, and when the avalanche came, the building collapsed around her. So she wasn't completely buried in snow, first off, right? So she had a building around her. But she was there for 5 days and survived. Pretty amazing. Lost her leg due to frostbite. But anyway, so yeah, that was it's always so strange to watch footage from that time, even though that's my era, to see the hair. I had forgotten how men would wear their hair really long then, and lots of facial hair, and nothing like today, but different. You know, it just I'd love to go back and watch, you know, shows from my youth because of the dress and, you know, the cars and everything. It's like, wait a minute, those cars, weren't they older than that? Wasn't that earlier than that? No, that was really in my youth. So yeah, it was I enjoy those kind of documentaries. You will too someday. You'll be like, oh, I feel nostalgic for 2023.
Saltburn took place in the early 2000s. So
there
was a lot of things that were like kind of cool to see. But yeah. And then,
I do movies before and after cell phones. Yeah. It's all before and after cell phones. Yeah.
They had cell phones, but they were all like, he had like that like Nokia, like the little,
I had one of those.
Yeah.
I had that kind. I had the flip phone. I had the big one, you know. I actually had to buy a purse to carry that phone around in because it was so big and heavy. And so, yeah, I had to buy a crossbody shoulder bag. You know, of course, I also had a laptop that weighed 40 pounds. So, yeah, I think that's why I enjoyed that. What is it? Halt and Release.
Halt and Catch Fire.
Yes, Halt and Catch Fire. That's it. Yeah, because it reminded me of that era. And I lived in Dallas at the time, and, you know, and there's the laptops, which it's pretty hilarious when you think about it. I think more of along the lines of a portable, you know, desktop is what it was. You could pick it up. So, yeah. Anyway.
Well, I mean, I hope. I mean, I feel like I've watched a lot of movies this year, more so than other ones, and I'm excited to see. I mean, Saltburn was at the top of my list, and it said that it wasn't higher, but that I'm excited to see the other two that I have, which one of them comes out this Friday on Netflix, May December, and then Dream Scenario. Those are my other two big ones that I have high hopes for. So I would.
Well, May December has some of your favorite actresses in it. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I think that'll be a good one.
Yeah, those are my top two. coming up that's left.
I think we should watch all of the Best Picture nominees and do a podcast.
Yeah.
During the Oscars. What do you
think? The good thing is that we've seen, I think, depending on how many they have, because they vary now, how many they have.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer will get nominated. And I would imagine Killers of the Flower Moon. And I don't know. I don't know if Priscilla has the buzz, but I would hope that it does.
I hope that it does too, because I think that movie was really well made, well put together, good story. There wasn't really any real big lulls in it or anything like that. Even in Oppenheimer, there was kind of a period that it was okay. It's kind of a lull here, So
I want to talk about Oppenheimer.
I know.
I love Oppenheimer a lot, and I even like Christopher Nolan's faults. I think that they're almost kind of charming in a lot of ways. All of his weird little quirks are his own little things that I'm like, okay, they add something to it, I think.
Okay. I thought his casting was inspirational. In the reality, I mean, the really Robert Downey Jr. in that role. I mean, I would have never in a million years have thought him in that role.
So someone broke down
amazing
how much people were like in per screen time of this 3-hour movie, and it's like 2 hours and like 12 minutes. It's Cillian Murphy, and it's like something. I mean, he's obviously in almost all of it, and then the second one is, of course, Robert Downey Jr., but he's only in it for 22 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, of just pure screen time on the film, which is crazy. Which goes to show that almost all the movie is just close-ups of Cillian Murphy.
And it seemed that way.
Yeah.
It really kind of did seem that way. How long was...
fission, nuclear fission, things popping on screen, those two things.
That really only happened once.
Well, it cuts to a lot of sparkles throughout the whole movie and things...
That's true.
Humming and stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
But yeah, I found that all very interesting. The breakdown of like who's like, and then like how people were, how the cast list and how they were like the order of the cast list versus how much actual screen time people had was also kind of interesting, because people who were like lower on the cast list actually had more screen time, and people that you wouldn't imagine actually had a whole lot of screen time end up having a lot more than other people. So I don't know. I was looking at that and I found that very fascinating.
How much screen time did his wife have, Emily
Blunt?
Yes.
I had to look that up again, but yeah, it was she was one of the top ones too.
Yeah. I wish Christopher Nolan could do it. I mean, none of his female characters are. Bless his heart. Anyway.
So it was, I found it. So it was it's an hour and 53 minutes, Cillian Murphy. So he's 62 or 63% of the movie. Then it's Robert Downey Jr. with 23 minutes.
Oh, wow. And everyone else is after that.
Yeah. And then it's Matt Damon with 17 minutes, Emily Blunt with 17 minutes. And then it's Josh Hartnett with 11, Jason Clarke, 11, Benny Safdie, Alden Ehrenreich. I mean, so it goes down from there.
So we should expect at least one Best Actor award from that movie.
Yes.
Gary Oldman. You're on screen that long.
Gary Oldman has 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
But it's the best 3 minutes and 20 seconds of the
I
movie.
would love a nomination for him for just that 3-minute role.
Me too. So the Iron Claw. That one's coming out, I think, Christmas Day, isn't it?
Yes, which I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that one too, although I'm not a big WWF, fan or anything. But it's a good it's a family story. It's a story about family, and those are always interesting.
Yeah, and it's A24, so I mean, it's gonna have some art to it. I mean, yeah, the only other one. I mean, I have Holdovers, which I have yet to see. Dream Scenario, May, December. Poor Things, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
That's another one that I have. And I'll see Ferrari. Just because out of obligation. I'm okay with it blowing me away, but or not. But I'll watch it out of obligation. It's Michael Mann, so.
Yeah, so you have to.
You have to, yeah. So.
Yeah, it's like one movie comes out about race cars, and now everybody's got to do movies about race cars. Yeah. I really hate that too.
Well, it was fascinating to me that it was like from the director of Heat and Last of the Mohicans is what the trailer said, which
Does
is
it
like,
really?
yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, well,
that's strange.
I mean, Heat makes sense. But like I guess they're trying to like say it's also a prestige film. So I think that's kind of like they're trying to be like, okay, we want it to make it seem like it's a prestige film and also kind of, actiony. So that's why they chose those two. But I would like choose Collateral. Like to me, I don't know if that would be Miami Vice would maybe get a little some other people in it. But Collateral, at least from the director of Heat and Collateral would be what you would do. But I guess they want to make it seem prestige-y, so. Which Collateral got a lot of nominations, but whatever.
But it didn't get the girls.
Yeah.
Girl vote. It's the girl vote we're going for. Adam Driver. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Although, yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay. That's enough of that. We're talking about two apocalyptic vision movies from 2011.
I talk about terrible advertising. I mean, I'm sorry, Cade. You know me. Okay. I love a good apocalyptic movie.
It's not an apocalypse movie. It's an apocalyptic movie.
They're not. They're not about the apocalypse of any way, shape, or form. And it was so, felt like I had
It's an internal apocalypse.
I feel, why not? I mean, yeah. Anyway, I feel like it's false advertising. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Both movies you think it's going to be man versus nature, but it's really about man versus himself at the end of the day.
God.
So that's why these movies are both connected in some sort of profound thematic way, Diane.
And not enjoyable. I mean, sorry.
So we're going to talk about first Take Shelter and then Melancholia. But first, Diane's got to give us the plot of Take Shelter from 2011.
I'm just going to give you a description.
The full plot after this short little
I would be like, spoiler alert right now then.
I could have given you Melancholia, Diane, but I didn't.
Oh, thank God you didn't.
And I was questioning it the entire time. I'm like, why didn't I make that the first one?
I know. Yeah, thank God you didn't. I'm going to be sneezing while we go on break here.
Okay, here we go.
Take Shelter. Curtis LaForge, I'm sure I'm not saying that right, played by Michael Shannon, lives in a small town with his loving wife and hearing impaired daughter. Though money is tight, he and his family are very happy, but then Curtis begins having terrifying dreams about an apocalypse that's threatening them all. Rather than confiding in Samantha, his wife, he begins building a storm shelter in their backyard. And his strange behavior causes tension in their marriage and in the community. He even loses his job over it. So with that, I'm not going any farther without Cade there to tell me I'm spoiling and alerting all kinds of spoiler alerts, and that you should know about that before we go any further. Cade.
Yes.
That's the best I could do without.
Did you write that or did you read that off of something?
I actually read that because I thought I've got to find a description of this movie that doesn't, give it all completely away. And I wrote it all down and I put it right here. So I wish I had a teleprompter like you do, but I don't.
Well, Yeah, that was an
need to-
incredibly succinct one, and you're not going to get that from Melancholia. I just wanted to tell you guys that.
I don't even know what to say about Melancholia, but of the two, let's talk about Take Your Shelter right now. I was totally sold by you. I try not to, when we watch these movies, I try not to read anything about them before I watch the movie. And sometimes in a movie, the very first thing I do is pick up, my phone or my iPad and start looking up stuff because what the hell is going on, right? In some of the movies you pick. But this one, I watched it for a long time before I went, what the hell is going on? The bird sequence, when he has the bird, we've all seen birds make great crazy patterns in the sky, especially here in Oklahoma, where we're on the migration path for every, large, flock of birds. So you see some of that, but then his dreams started getting where you didn't know if he was in a dream or if he was not. And the one that really hurt me the most, I think, was the dog, because in his dream, of course, you don't know it's a dream at the time, the dog attacks him and it's his dog. And it's just, so he puts the dog in the backyard in a fence. So because he's feeling it all day after he wakes up from the dream, he's still feeling it. And then you start to realize he is struggling with other issues.
Yeah.
And when he goes to see his mother, that's when it really hit me that, he is, spoiler alert, caught up in the throngs of schizophrenia. And we are watching him suffer the beginning stages of this terrible disease. And I have to give it to Jessica Chastain. What an actress. And this is 11 years ago, 12 years ago?
Yeah.
13 years ago when they made this movie. She just, there's not a scene where you can't tell what's absolutely happening with her when they just show her face.
Yeah.
You can just such a stellar performance by her. And, Michael Shannon, you always think of him as a really bad guy, but here he is, this loving father, and trying to do the right thing, for his family and his friends. Obviously, he's got a lot of friends in the community, and then he starts having these struggles, and it's just kind of heartbreaking in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
What did you think?
that was good, Diane. I've seen you take control of that, where you walked through it all. I mean, that was. So did you like the movie?
No.
You really connected with it for not liking it.
I just no. It was like a Lifetime movie that had a real budget. So family movie. It's a Lifetime movie. The stories you see this on Lifetime all the time, but this much better. Much more well done. Not to the edge of like artistic craziness that you can see in some other movies that we watch, but so it still has a good story to it, and you care about the characters. But I wouldn't recommend it necessarily because it's a terrible, terrible disease, and it leaves you with that feeling of this isn't really survivable. This is something you have to live with. Not only him, but his wife and his child and all that.
Yeah, most of my issue, I like the themes and I like what it was saying. I think most of my issues were what came down to the plotting of it. Like, it did seem at times to be like just plot contrivance after plot contrivances to we have to, for some reason, fill out 2 hours. And I'm like, you don't have to do that. We don't have to, it felt like at times we were spinning wheels just because we needed to fill a time. Yeah. And I initially I really liked how he was keeping his wife out of all this whole sort of situation of of course he would do that and everything. But then it started to feel like the movie didn't know how to tell it if that wasn't part of the plot. Because it did seem like at times this could have been solved if she would have been known earlier or whatever. Which again, like I said, initially I liked. how that was a plot point. But then it started to get to where we're like, well, the plot can't move forward unless he tells her. And so you start to get to the point where you're angry at the movie of just like, okay, can we just get to the next step? Can we get to the point where he tells her so we can just move on past this spot that we're stuck in? And because the movie can't move forward otherwise. So there was that aspect to it. And then there's the aspect of it like, it's what's going to happen in the plot is so heavily telegraphed before it happens. Like like the fact that like, hey, he has the best insurance. You better be happy that he has this job.
Yeah, so you knew it was gonna. Yeah, he's gonna lose his job. We knew he was gonna lose his job when he borrowed the equipment to dig the hole in his backyard for the boxcar. All I could think during that point. And this is where, sometimes a movie can take you right out of the movie and into real life. Mm-hmm. There's a guy in Claremore who did that, who used a boxcar to create a storm shelter. Well, when the tornado came through, and wiped out everything on his property, the only thing that was left was that buried boxcar. So it's like, oh, well, that people do that. They create, and then it was like, oh, well, he's adding on. It really, to me, if you were going to show someone that was obsessed, right, it would have been more than just bury the boxcar. I mean, I think they tried to do that. Well, we're going to run electricity, we're going to do plumbing, and we're going to do all this other stuff.
I'm going to go to the store and get canned food. Yeah.
You would do a little bit, would have been more. Because just buried a boxcar. Ain't that unusual around here in Oklahoma?
Yeah.
People do it all the time.
Yeah. And it was, but so like the idea that like all this sort of stuff was telegraphed of like, oh, I don't want you to mess up your line. Like, there was just all this sort of these lines and these things. It's just like, so like, I'm glad like in other movies, things would just happen and they wouldn't be set up. So it's like, I do have to give them credit for like, like they're setting these up and paying them off, but it becomes so telegraphed where you're like, I'm like 16 steps ahead of this movie. And it becomes a little bit frustrating.
Well, and because of that, they had to make the stakes higher.
Mm-hmm.
Here he has this daughter that the insurance is going to pay for implants so she can hear.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that you could put together that would make it higher stakes is if she needed a heart transplant. You know what I mean? It's like, you make it any, and they couldn't do that because they needed her to be cute.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't know. Even though the movie ends with, in its own way of saying his family's going to support him. Mm-hmm. They see his problem and he is going to, and did I just kick?
No, I moved it.
That was you. Okay. I was like, you see my tree light up back there. And my gnome, that was from Ava. Anyway, at the end of the movie, you see that, this is going to be okay. He's got their support. They see his issue and this is all going to work out. But come on, things don't work that way. You get a home equity loan and you lose your job. It's more than just, I'll get a job, honey. You got to have, come on.
Yeah.
It's going to take more than a job at McDonald's to get you through that little scrape. So.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, like, and it seems like they set up all these problems of like insurmountable things, and then Jessica Chastain hand waves it in a single line. In the movie. That line, we've set up this whole movie with like 17 problems that are like stacking up, and then she's just like, all he had to do was like hug her and say that he's not scared that she's going to like kill him.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, then I'm not going to leave you. If you're not scared that I'm going to murder you, then I'm going to stay. And here's how I'm going to fix.
Can you live with the fact that you think I'm going to kill you? Yeah. Well, when she did the whole, I'm going to get a job and da-da-da-da, I was like, yo, girl, we can do anything, can't we? Yo, we can solve any problem because we are women. But then, of course, he inherited this little special thing from his mother, so we had to go through the whole thing about, his dad had to raise him because mom's been in assisted living, which, by the way, assisted living does not take schizophrenia. people. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, you know what's fascinating about schizophrenia? I mean, I've heard this now from a few different things of like, this is off the wall a little bit, but I guess here in America, the voices that people hear are a lot harsher than elsewhere in the world. Like if you go to like Europe, people with schizophrenia and everything, that in Asia and everything, the voices that people are diagnosed with schizophrenia, or even people who transfer over from who have schizophrenia and move over there, the voices aren't as harsh.
Harsh as in,
like we have a lot, we have a lot more supposedly evil voices that talk to people here,
saying terrible things here.
Yes.
Yeah. We're the only nation in the world that kills children in elementary schools with AR-15s. Come on. Of course it's going to be worse there. Holy cow.
Yeah, which is, I don't know, right. just kind of an interesting, I don't know what that means.
Somebody will blame that on video games. Wait for it. Wait for it.
But there's been studies and stuff, and that's just one of those things that I'm like, that's fascinating and something I don't exactly understand, and I'm sure there's thoughts of that and everything, but I don't know. I mean, but anyways, that's not what the point of the thing. But
speaking of Oppenheimer,
yeah.
Anyway,
no, but no, I thought, I mean, it's interesting. Just the other notes I had was Jessica Chastain in a supporting role. You really don't see that all that often anymore. I mean, she does supporting roles, but where she's like almost a co-lead in a lot of ways. So she'll do that now, or she'll be the star. And so this one, I mean, she was very much a supporting role.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
Very supportive. Mm-hmm. I would have killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's odd. Like she elevated that role in a way that like, I don't see. I'm glad that she saw something in it because like on the text, like it's just somebody who's like nagging, like on the text, just of how that is. She's just like, I don't understand what you're going through, and it's like I'm going to first kind of be supportive, and then I'm going to flip and be like, why are you acting this way? And then like, and it was a lot of that, and then a lot of just tell me what's happening, and then being angry that she, it was a lot of that whole thing, and where the plot is told from Michael Shannon from this very male, masculine perspective of this idea. I mean,
the only thing that didn't ring true with me between the two of them was when he wet the bed.
Yeah,
in real life he would have never been able to hide that from her. I mean, that just wouldn't happen because he's a guy, and he's not going to know how to strip that bed and get it where it doesn't smell like male urine.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. She would have had to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That would have went.
That's true. Well, it is weird. That is an odd, like, it just happens, like, he just says that it happens, right? Or was it on screen? Like,
no, on screen, yeah.
Okay, it was on screen, okay.
Threw back the covers, and between his legs spread, and the bed was all wet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well.
And there's a big difference between night sweats and wet in the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. See, I guess. Yeah. They made it seem like it was night sweats, and then he said, like later that to the doctor, I guess that's what. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I don't know. I found it all to be. I mean, it was. Again, the pieces were really good and really interesting. I think there was a tighter movie. I don't know. There'd be too many things. I don't even know what would be the first thing I would fix about this movie. So that's where I'm like,
I think that the thing I would fix about it is don't give up the fact that he's schizophrenic and he is at the beginning stages of his illness quite so soon. Because that they gave it up really early in the movie, and now you're just watching this man go through these episodes. Right. I mean, I think they could have built the tension a little longer. The way they describe it is that they did build the tension, but they really didn't. I mean, they kind of gave it up pretty early that his mother was schizophrenic.
The very first meeting with the doctor, he says, have you met with your mother? And you immediately, as an audience member, are like, oh, his mother has something. Like, I mean, that there's no other way why that sense would make any sense. And so you immediately start filling in X, Y, Z and all that stuff about it. And so that's where, but there are weird think like for all of the stuff that's telegraphed and said and done, all but there are some weird like question marks around the movie that's not explained. Like there's a lot of stuff that happens before this movie ever took place that like that you start to get filled in and everything, and to me somewhat more interesting things than what we see in the film of just his whole family life and how you start to get filled in about his dad took care of them, and then the mother snapped, and like the fact that the older brother was in senior, like in my head, this is one where I was completely wrong about. I thought the brother was dead. I really thought that his older brother was dead, and that's what caused her to snap. Like that to me was what that was saying.
Evidently, it didn't take a catalyst.
No.
A catalyst event. I think that's, at least in his case, it didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that, it tries to inform you along the way with these different. But like the guy that he worked with, that he's supposed to be best friends with, I never got. I mean, it was like after all we've been through. Well, what the hell have they been through? I didn't see that part.
Yeah. And they should have had dinners with them. Like they should have been family friends. Yeah.
Right.
More.
Right.
More than what they were.
And that character, along with his brother, along with his wife, since they know this is the family history, why weren't they saying something earlier? Why was this guy helping him steal a backhoe from work to dig this hole? None of that should have happened if they truly, truly were, these great friends and family, and his wife should have picked it up earlier, all that stuff. I think they would have been better off if they had not done the whole, digging the hole and all that other stuff. I don't know.
The implication to me is that the friend didn't know that his mother had that. But that, I guess that
but
they
then later on, it's like after all we've been through, and,
yes.
It's like, well, wait a minute.
Good
so
friends,
you're not just work colleagues and beer drinking buddies. You've actually been through some shit. Okay.
Well, there were a lot of weird things where I was led down the wrong path of like,
right.
I assumed for some reason that he kept his mother a secret. Like that was the other thing, that because of like that, why his mother, why Jessica Chastain didn't know anything was because he kept this whole thing about her a secret. And that's where I thought was in my head. But then she's like, well, we could have just went with you. It's like, wait, so she's not a secret? Because like,
exactly.
he shows a photo of his daughter, and she's like, wow, like as if she's never seen this photo of her, never met her granddaughter, and she's like kept in this facility. Like so, he's like, I haven't seen her in months, which you would like. I think he said 6 months, but it's said in a way that's like possibly more than that. And so like he was just like saying to the doctor that he hadn't seen her that long, even though it had been longer. So that in my head, I had thought he's barely ever seen her. And neither has the family doesn't even have a connection with her at all.
Yeah, they don't even know she's around.
Yeah. But again, that's not the case.
No.
I mean but also more than that, the catalyst seems to be that his father died, which happens off screen and is mentioned halfway through the movie. That he's like, well, my father just died a few months ago, and he was the only thing that like kept me. kept me grounded. And yet,
so all these people who are good friends and his wife and all that, they had no idea that this. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So
I said, would you recommend this movie to anybody? I mean, come on.
I don't know. It just has it has a few things with it. No, I mean, would I recommend it? No, I probably wouldn't recommend it. It has some interesting things. I mean, I don't think we said his friend. Your camera dropped again. His friend is Shea Wiggum, which is just a great little character actor who pops in a lot of things. I don't know. We called him out, but he's great in this. Like he's great in everything. He plays this specific type character really well. And so I really did. I like that a lot. I thought the daughter did a really good job.
We had in today's movies, we had 2 male roles that the actors that were cast for them are really good at that suppressed anger, that tension from the anger. And when he walked into that community center, you could just see this anger boiling under surface.
Mm-hmm.
And he is so good at that as a character actor. But the other movie has one of those too. And that was the best part of the whole movie for me. But anyway.
The, oh, I'm
I
starting to
digress.
see who you're saying what that is. But the,
Mm-hmm.
but no, I thought that was really good. And then like that whole Lions Club scene is really good. That comes late in the movie. And it's like, that that's the big sort of over the top thing where you give Michael Shannon the scene to really act. And I mean, and it's pitch perfect.
And Jessica Chastain, totally pitch perfect in that scene too.
Well, she's able to react. She plays. She like I think this really showcased Jessica Chastain's ability of just her reactions to things, and like her seeing these things. Like she plays, like you said earlier, just this full scope of emotions that you can just read on her face without ever having to say anything, and that's where she elevates that role into something I think that most actresses couldn't, because it's just so much, like she's able to add this extra layer of the unsaid to this role that I think really makes it powerful.
And where I really, really shined for me, at least that part, was where she wasn't actually playing his wife. It was in the dream sequence where he's afraid she's going to kill her or whatever. And there's the knife and all that. In that scene, she doesn't look anything like she does the rest of the movie. And it's because you're seeing her through his eyes. And it's, as an actress, she absolutely pulls that off. She doesn't even look like herself in the other scenes, right?
Yes.
She's able to take her emotions and completely hide them, or the character's emotions, and really lock them down and hide them, so that you're actually viewing her through her husband's eyes, not who she really is. Absolutely. And I just love that, because these dream sequences, they don't always tell you he's in a dream.
Yeah.
Right? And you realize he's in a dream because you're looking at her through his eyes instead of how she's been portrayed throughout the entire rest of the movie. As I'm talking with my hands and you can't see my hands.
No, I think the way that you can tell that it's a dream sequence is there something happening on screen? Is there action that's taking place?
Exactly.
That's how you can tell.
As a moviegoer that really no interest in how films are made, only to be entertained, I was not entertained. And no, I wouldn't recommend it.
Because none of that really had any consequence outside of what was happening in his own head. But weird, like we didn't see the Shea Wiggum dream where he snaps. That's just talked about. And it's like, you have him there, this great actor who can play this unhinged thing. Why don't we get that scene?
Really well. Why don't we get that? It makes you wonder if maybe it got cut. Because why else would you put him in that role?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you're going to have a nightmare about anybody, that's the guy you're going to have a nightmare about.
I know.
Let's face it.
And we get every single other one. And it's weird that is not in the movie. So and it doesn't seem like it had to be shot, or there was some sort of technical problem with it, or it had to be cut for X amount of reasons. I mean, it seems odd that it's not there.
I guarantee you there was one, but it got cut.
Mm-hmm.
How long is this movie? Does it say 2 hours? Yeah,
2 hours.
They were trying to keep it under 2 hours, so they cut out that scene. Anyway, I think that the scenes they keep in there make good trailers.
Yeah. Well, also, I liked the scene. One of the most profound ones, and it was just simplistic, was so he goes to this counselor because he doesn't want to go out to Columbus or whatever for this better psychiatrist, and so he goes to this counselor, and she's set up of it's said, even though she's only shown once, it's said that he's gone to her several times, and then she gets replaced from this other, and they split. He's like, oh yeah, I've taken over for her, and we've split the caseloads and everything. Yeah. And then he asks that same question, that she essentially resetting him back to all the progress that he had made off screen, but to the very first question she asked, and I thought that was a very profound thing that really worked well in the movie. So it has these really interesting moments. And I'm glad I watched it, but I would not recommend most people to watch it. I think it's not that great in that sense. Diane, would you recommend people to watch this?
No.
Okay.
No. No, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Well,
no.
good.
I have no even reason for not watching it. Just don't.
Mm-hmm.
There are much better things to spend your time on. Watch a Hallmark movie instead, or a Lifetime movie. At least you know what you're getting on that deal, and
It's,
you
I
can
mean,
fall asleep taking a nap.
it's tough because like I think what it's saying is good, and I think like there are these really good moments in this movie, and it kind of pains me to sort of say don't watch it, but it's just not, I think, really worth your time, but it does have some really good things in it, and I'm glad I watched it, but I can't recommend you to do it. I don't know.
No. You know, one of the reviews, this is the voice from the Collider, says, Take Shelter is almost a brilliant paranoid thriller.
Mm-hmm.
I think almost is the key word there.
Well, he did that midnight special. I guess he works with Michael Shannon a lot. But that was one that I watched and I remember sort of liking, and I remember absolutely nothing about that movie other than it's Michael Shannon and Joel Edgerton. Um,
Well, it says he did Loving.
yeah, he did Loving,
Wow.
which is Joel as well.
He
So I
did
mean,
Mud.
Mud, which people like a lot. I haven't
He's
ever
got a
seen
movie
Mud.
out in 2003 called The Bike Riders.
Huh. Oh, that's that one with Tom
Austin
Hardy.
Butler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has it come out? I guess it has.
Well,
I don't know.
It
Haven't
has
seen it.
been. It came out at Telluride, but it will come out released theatrically later in 2014. They moved it because of the strike. So
Okay. Yeah, it has Austin Butler and Tom Hardy and Norman Reedus, and it's got an 85 on Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah, I remember
Wait a minute.
the trailers. They've played it in a few things, and I don't know. Well, yeah. That's Take Shelter. And next we'll be talking about. Are you ready to move on to Melancholia, Diane?
As long as we don't have to talk about it for a long, long time.
Okay.
Yes. I'm so ready.
Okay. So we'll take our short little intermission. Be sure to grab something from the concession stand and join us back after the break for me giving the plot of Melancholia, and we'll talk
Better
all about
you
it.
than me.
I really wish I'd given it to you, but this is
Yeah, there would be no. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what I do after this.
Let's see what you do.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's intermission time. All these delicious treats are waiting for you at the refreshment stand. Delicious fresh popcorn, ice-cold cola, and candy you know and love. They're all ready for you now, so you won't have to miss any of the feature. Come and get them.
And now, on with the show.
Okay, now I'm going to give the plot of Melancholia. Bear with me here with this one. This is going to be a tough one here. So it's written and directed by Lars von Trier, and it stars Kirsten Dunst. She plays Justine. It's told in two parts. The movie opens with the fact that this other planet titled Melancholia is it collides with Earth, and so that's the opening of the movie. You know that's how the movie's going to end in some sort of way, because it opens with that. So it's a rogue planet that has come into our orbit and collides with Earth, and you have this really interesting visuals and everything, and then the movie starts, and part one is told. It's called part one. It's called Justine, and it's about Kirsten Dunst and her getting married. She's getting married to Alexander Skarsgård, and they are at her sister's. Her sister and her husband, who's Kiefer Sutherland, own this castle, and they're getting married at this castle. And this whole time, she's having a Kirsten Dunst is having a depressive episode, and it's about that. In the first part, it's all shot handheld and everything, and it's this wedding, and they're kind of late to the reception. The reception's at this place. You don't actually see the wedding, but you see this reception, and it's this party, and they keep trying. She keeps like walking away, and they keep pulling her back, and she's having this depressive episode, and and it's about that. It's about that, and then you jump forward in time, and later this planet becomes a bigger problem. But that's what we'll say here in this part. Diane, what'd you think of Melancholia?
Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest. Put this in a nutshell. I fell asleep.
Diane.
And I had such a lack of interest as to what happened, I didn't rewind.
Wow, Diane. So you missed a whole section.
No, I didn't fall asleep for very long.
Okay.
I mean, I
Where'd you fall asleep during, Diane?
Just, the beginning of the second part.
Okay. That's probably fair.
But it was only for a little bit. But it's a long movie. My gosh, it was so long.
Honestly, thought it was going to be longer. I prepared for a 3-hour movie.
2 hours and 16 minutes. It felt like a 4-hour movie. It really went on and on and on. And
second part's told from the other sister's perspective. Just I didn't explain that earlier, but that's what the second part's told from her. And there's a time jump.
If I had known this weekend was going to be all about mental illness,
I think I tried to prepare you for that.
I would have not allowed anyone to give me this great Christmas spirit that I had yesterday before I watched the first movie.
Well, you were banking a
now
reserve.
I am so depressed. I mean, seriously.
Well, that was we built up the energy to take it down. So like if you started at 0, it would have been really bad. But the fact
I would have had to get the vodka out.
They filled up the tank to deplete it. So I think that was actually good planning on your part.
Yeah, probably was. Now I've got to figure out a way to get back in the Christmas spirit again, but maybe watch some Hallmark movies or something. But anyway, here's what I can say. I love the wedding dress that Kirsten Dunst wore.
Okay.
The castle was pretty cool, except for a castle, they certainly were like all crammed into that little reception for dinner and stuff. And the fact that she keeps running away and they keep bringing her back, it's like after the third time, I think I'd just let her go.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's impossible to squat and pee in a wedding dress. Sorry. Yeah. I know for some reason, we have to watch these movies where women are just standing there peeing, but you cannot do that in a wedding dress. Not in, and she had to pee uphill. I mean, come on. In the heels. First off, walking across a lawn in 3-inch spiked heels doesn't happen, Cade. It just doesn't happen. I give it to Kirsten Dunst for is it Kirsten? I always say her name wrong.
Yeah.
Kirsten. Give it to her for just accomplishing that feat.
Yeah.
Because those heels should have been sinking in the ground, even if it was, but that's almost impossible to do. So I'm so grateful that I got to see that part too.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if you were going to marry
Alexander Skarsgård.
Alexander, I mean, seriously, why would you ever take your eyes off of him? I mean, come on.
Oh, you think he's attractive?
Yeah. Oh, Lord help me. Did you watch True Lies? I guess you didn't. Anyway, so yeah, that and I love the fact that his dad's also in this movie. And
he does not play his dad.
He doesn't play his dad. His dad is also in the movie. But
I know.
But he
I
doesn't play his dad.
I know. I had a note about that of just both Skarsgårds are in this, and there's more, I guess, but the two most prominent ones, the father and son, and they do not play father and son.
They don't. They really don't, and they should, because they look like father and son. But yes, and Stellan, isn't that how you say his first name? Anyway, Stellan. He plays Kirsten Dunst's boss, who promotes her during the wedding reception. Come on. this whole thing was such a mess. Her mom was, I mean, if her mother in real life, you would have never invited this woman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you are, you would not have invited her because she is such a tragic disaster of a human being.
Yeah.
And no way they would have invited her. I'm sorry. I know they needed
everybody's bad in this movie. Every single person is not good.
John Hurt's the best. I loved him.
Uh-huh. Well, he was incredibly selfish as well.
Well, totally, but you want him to be.
Yeah.
It's okay that John Hurt does that.
Yeah.
You're okay with John Hurt being who he is.
And they don't do anything. They have John Hurt there.
They have John Hurt.
They have John Hurt in the middle of this, and he's playing the father of the bride. And they give him like comedy things, and they give him, and then nothing really, like setting up like something's going to come, and they keep just pulling the rug underneath John Hurt, and it's like, what? No, you give the film to John Hurt. You don't just keep setting up him. Like they set up, here's his speech, and then it gets pulled out from underneath him, and his wife speaks, and then he's like, okay, and she's like, I need to speak with you. You're going to be the last person I speak to tonight because we haven't done anything with your character. And he's like, sounds good. I'm John Hurt, and then he's not even there, which I guess is the whole point of that character. But at the same time, it's like, oh, what a kind of waste of John Hurt. He's good though.
Oh my God! You know what? I tell you what, all of the actors in this. I could see why they signed up because I'm sure the script read really well and the pitch was great. And but then something happened and it turned into this horrible movie. And I'm sure they all regret being in it. I don't know. But,
it's well regarded. I mean, to understand, this is routinely
a lot of
people.
This is an art house favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the reviews on this thing, holy cow. I went back after watching it and falling asleep and then watching it, and I was like, what the hell? And it's like, oh my gosh, people love this movie. Yeah. And these characters are horrible, and they're just all bad, and they all are,
Like Stellan is really good in it, like, and he plays that role incredibly well, and
But what a throwaway character. You don't need that character in this movie.
At the end of the day, you probably don't. And like, I mean, there's a lot of unnecessary, like, because it's about this marketing thing. I mean, what it is it's about here's a person who gets everything supposedly that you could dream of, supposedly, and in one night, the job promotion, the love of your life, and then and
cheating on him,
and a nice and a family and this nice castle, and the fact that like there's said that he bought this land for her, and like all this stuff is just laid out of this extraordinary life, and it's still not enough to make someone happy, or make her happy in this specific instance. And I think that is the point, and it's certainly because
I think that's a great point to have, and I think it's wonderful that they included the mother so you could see why she was such a why she had the issues that she had.
I think both parents. I think that was important to sort of show, even though the John Hurt's not in, they don't really do that much. I mean, it does seem to suggest that here's a guy that she's like wanting to have this connection with, and he's just not interested. He's like this flighty sort of person who goes on a whim and does all these things, and yet she's left with this mother who will just like drag her down. And so that's the only sort of parental role, because this other person who could possibly lift her up and make her feel well is just not interested in her, and that is heartbreaking in a lot of ways.
I think this is one of those kind of movies, you either love it or you hate it. I don't know. I have no idea. You know, I know you like movies where people talk a lot, talk, and there's a lot of talking going on in this, but none of what they're saying is important, makes any sense in relation to what's happening in the world. You know, and that how incredibly selfish she is, with at this event of her wedding, and maybe her plan was all along to blow it up. But do you take within a 3-hour time frame that it takes to get married and have a reception at a wedding and blow up your life? I don't know. I think they made that hard. It's hard to make that believable in the scenario that they're in, where the world is going to blow up. I don't know. I don't. I know that this movie is like the middle movie of a 3-part series that this guy did.
Just thematically, there's no ties or anything. It's not has characters.
So there's probably a tone to it that makes sense when you watch the other 2 movies. I'm assuming that there's going to be a similar tone, or he's going to use a tone that goes all the way through.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's a thing that he has of just like you can have everything and still not be happy. I do think that there are
a lot of movies that can,
that better do that and everything. I must say I don't see this groundbreaking movie. I don't know. I mean, I guess we didn't see it in its time. So there's also that. Like we were watching it now, 12, 13 years after it came out. And we're no longer kind of in its 2011 was a different time. I mean, I think both these movies were made in 2011. There's this idea of like that we're heading into 2012. There was this apocalyptic sort of view of the world, dystopian ideas and everything. And so this idea that like, and we're talking about depression more in this sort of time, and we're ready to face that head on, a lot of these mental health issues and stuff. Both these movies have just a lot of similarities in that fact. And so now we're watching this outside of this time, and it seems very rudimentary. This movie seems very much like, okay, this was the movie everyone fawned about, and I must say I watched the movie and it was just kind of like, oh, okay, that wasn't that wasn't this. It was fine, which I think would probably be the biggest slap in Lars von Trier's face, is just me saying his movie was fine. I don't think it's shockingly profound, but again, this movie, we're watching it not in its time in which it came out. And so, there's a lot of these movies that are supposedly profound, and you watch them later and it's like, oh, it's just that. And it's because it existed in a time in which this was profound. Things have now taken that a step further and done different things. And we've seen this stuff, piecemealed in different ways. And it doesn't have that impact that it had whenever it was released. That being said, I love Handheld. I thought that was excellent whenever
oh my
it turned
God.
into that.
I know you did. And I was, first off, just getting through the opening sequence and all those, that was horrible. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to be a horrible movie.
Yeah.
And then they go straight into the Handheld, which makes you want to throw up most of the time. So I thought,
I never feel that way. Everyone always says that.
I know. And I thought, Cade's going to love this. And I just had to not look at it and listen, because there's no way to watch a movie that's constantly, the camera is constant motion. It never stops. It constantly,
but it makes you so aware of spatially where you're at. It makes like the characters seem real. Not really,
because it never stopped moving. I mean, it would be one thing if it would just stop long enough to see someone's lips move, but you don't. It keeps moving. And so it transitions away from the person talking, and you would not view the world that way. If someone is speaking to you, you would look at them, right? But this is not happening. The camera's moving constantly.
Well, it depends. So in the party scenes, it is a little bit more, and you're like going over here, and it's all that, and then but like when you're in the rooms with people, it does have a lot more shot reverse shot.
He's still moving. He's still moving the entire time.
It's handheld. I mean, so you're not gonna. It's not tethered to anything.
I know. It's still moving.
I'll tell you, Diane. You stepped on a thing that I like. I will fight for Handheld until I'm blue in the face, because I think it's just it adds this sense of realism and it makes it a lot more interesting visually to me because it has constant movement in it. Whereas you'll see other movies that just lock down a camera and you're just staring at something for 10 minutes, it seems like, and you're like, this is not interesting. Please, can we move the camera in some sort of way?
I think it's like in all things, you can have too much of either side of it. I'm not saying you can never have handheld. I mean, there's a lot of handheld action sequences that are really, really good. Just Atomic Blonde, a perfect example. That fight in the stairwell, that's all handheld. That's great. But when you have the entire movie, and especially for someone like me who gets motion sickness, it's like I have to shut my eyes or I'm going to either throw up or have a headache when this is over because it's never stopped moving. Even when it stops on something for just a second, it's still moving. It's just like, okay, So I think this is just too much for me. That's all. I mean, I don't have a problem with handheld in a lot of, Star Trek. Remember Star Trek whenever when they remade it and they had Chris Pine on the motorcycle? Because there's a lot of handheld in that movie, but it fit with what they were doing. Yeah. This one was just a little too much. It was like, oh, this guy is in love with this handheld device here.
Well, he invented Dogma 95, which is where a lot of our handheld
oh, really?
Stuff comes from. This is stylistically. Yeah, Lars von Trier.
Oh, really?
So Dogma 95 was this idea that we're going to shoot films like they're documentary style. And so he is the sort of person who invented the handheld camera movement in narrative filmmaking. And so, yeah, he does it. I mean, it doesn't follow a lot of the rules of that. I mean, he breaks his own rules in this sort of thing. It's not exactly how other ones. But to me, the biggest problem here with the handheld is the jump cuts. That's the part that takes me out of it. And that's an editing choice. That is how he's shooting it. Whereas, I love handheld, but the idea that we're going to jump cut to a scene that's at the, exact same sort of angle, but, either further out, we're cutting. And so it immediately makes it, handheld makes it seem like you're in the room with the actors. It makes it seem like a lively sort of thing. This is all being captured here in this moment in time. But when you jump cut to something that's already kind of in the shot and it's essentially the same thing, it immediately takes you out of the moment, which immediately makes you removed from the characters. And so it has that routinely throughout this movie. And that is I'm not a fan of that. And I think that does hurt it in a lot of ways.
Maybe it was a combination, but I literally had to look down and look away so that I could at least hear what was going on because it was so distracting. And it could be that it was the combination of handheld and jump cutting, like you said. I don't know enough about filmmaking to really understand all of that. All I know, it was very, very uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable. And it was hard to watch in that sense. Maybe on a big screen, I don't know. I could be, because you said, this one won awards. I mean, big time awards and stuff.
Yeah.
And I did love the dress.
Well, and it's interesting, all the people. I mean, obviously he's a, well-known, everyone loves him and everything, but to me, in 2011, which this would have shot in 2010, I would assume, that's peak Kiefer. That's peak Kiefer, and Kiefer's going to come and record this and do that role, and that's a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal,
and he comes in, and I mean, he's in it a lot more than you would assume he was going to be from the beginning of the movie. He ends up being I don't know. I mean, I guess third lead after the two sisters. He's in it throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, he's in it as much as they are. He was the other person I was talking about earlier, an actor who can do that explosive intensity of anger. He can just explode on camera, and he got to do it.
He did.
So, yeah.
He was it was interesting. It was interesting to see Kiefer in that sort of role. there, having just watched Saltburn, which the whole point is like it takes place at this lavish mansion, and it said like, hey, that's bad. These people are bad. It's weird to sort of watch this movie and it being like, it just takes place there, and it's like, and it's not like that there's no thematic statement about here's these people with all this wealth, or like, I mean, it's there's nothing like, it's not like finger wagging them either. Like, it's just like, here's this wealthy elite, and I don't know. It's just, it's odd to me having just watched that, and it's just like, so there's nothing about how that's bad, or that how they're disconnected.
I don't really have an issue with it, passing judgment on someone's wealth, but it never said what Kiefer did that caused him to have that kind of wealth. And the thing that I thought, he was the most interesting character to me, by the way, because he was in such a state of denial. Yeah, that he was so certain of what was going to happen that when he was faced with the fact that it wasn't going to work out that way, he killed himself. Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert, Diane.
He's the third character.
Spoiler alert! Everyone dies.
They're
the whole
person
planet.
The person that handles it the best is the depressed person. Because, what the hell, I hate myself and I hate life anyway, so I can handle this. This is just the end of the world.
So it's interesting because, like, he says that he believes in all this stuff and everything, but yet he's still preparing for if something goes wrong, like that. Yeah. So it's, and he's just hiding that from his wife so that she doesn't panic.
Right. Here's the deal. He wasn't preparing for the world to end.
You're right.
He was preparing for
Blackouts,
there to be shortages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of like I accidentally prepared for the COVID pandemic because I was going to Hawaii. And before I went to Hawaii, I went by the store and bought a bunch of toilet paper and paper towels. And I had just kind of stocked up on everything that was,
a dry
good.
Was going to happen.
Before I left for Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea this was going to happen. Yeah. And while I was in Hawaii, they were people were at the store just buying up all the toilet paper and stuff like that. And we were watching them. It was pretty amazing. And then I come back and thank God I had toilet paper.
Yeah.
Okay. So that to me was a more interesting story than this whole movie. No, I'm sorry. So I have the first movie's about schizophrenia. And the second movie is about depression. Oh boy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Happy holidays!
Now you see why, Diane, I didn't want to invite a guest on this week because
I'm so glad you didn't. I am, because why would you put somebody through that you liked? I mean, you wouldn't, right? So why did you make me? No, you didn't know. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're going from a list. We're kind of at the bottom of our list of 100 movies. We're getting toward the end, and these were at the bottom. And when I look at movies from 2011, right? Take Shelter's listed there, along with Margin Call, which we watched. Yeah. And then Melancholly's listed, along with Drive. Wow. I didn't know In Time actually happened in 2011. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is a stellar movie. I don't know if you watched it or not, but probably not your thing. Anyway, but there was a lot of really terrible, but Drive was in there. We talked about that.
Yes.
We saw that one. But there was The Gray, I Am Number 4, which was really, it's kind of, that movie could have been so good.
Yes.
Anyway, it's kind of sad that it worked out like it did. What else is it? The Lincoln Lawyer. I'm trying. There's all the horror movies that I'm not going to talk about because you might make me watch them. The Descendants, Tree of Life.
So yeah,
won something. Yeah.
Rolling Stone. It's 9 is Tree of Life. 8 is Margin Call. 7 Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. 6 Hugo. Yeah. 5 Midnight in Paris. 4 Moneyball. 3 Descendants. 2 Artists. 1 Drive. So they didn't have Melancholia on that, but some people did have Melancholia on their top. Did
you watch Source Code? That also came out then. It's a sci-fi movie. I think you would really enjoy this movie because it's Jake Gyllenhaal and oh gosh, I love this actress and I can't now. She plays Tom Cruise's wife in the Michelle Monaghan.
Oh,
The premise is kind of a dorky thing, but it's a sci-fi movie. But it's set on a Chicago train, like a commuter train that people take from the suburbs into Chicago.
yeah, I've seen advertisements for it. Or when it came
And
out.
I think you, from a director perspective or writer perspective, from your perspective, I think you would enjoy this movie because there's 99% of this movie is in one location. And these two actors do scene after scene after scene that are different.
Mm.
And it's almost like, I don't want to compare it to Bill Murray's, what is it?
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day, but it's kind of like that in the sense that they are meeting each other and they redo over and over and over again. And I think you would find it a fascinating movie just because of who you are and how much I like you. And I like this movie. It's 92 on a Rotten Tomato. I wish it had been on our list instead of Melancholy.
But you watched it, so that takes it immediately off
I
the
know. Jeffrey Wright's in it. Anyway, I think you would enjoy it just because it's, from a director and a writer's perspective, it's interesting. They had this concept of just same scene over and over and how these two react to each other with the circumstance around them. And it's,
well, that's always a fun premise to do that. I mean, Edge of Tomorrow, and there's that.
Those are all bigger. This is really, really small.
Well, there's the X-Files episode in which there's that bank robbery, and they keep
going
back and forth.
One of my favorites. One of my favorites. Anything that has to do with time travel or reliving an experience over and over again, I'm like, it's at the top of my list. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we just want to turn our podcast into a X-Files rewatch, I'd be okay with doing that.
I'd be okay with that too. I would. I'd be okay with that too. There's we need another series like that, don't we? We need another X-Files kind of series. What was the one that?
Fringe. Fringe was very close to it.
Fringe was really good. That I love that series, and the thing is, I think what we do in the United States that is a disservice to series like that. That the Brits do really well is they have an ending. I mean, it's like your series is going to be 3 seasons. This is all we're going to have. And that always leaves people wanting more, right? And you can't, first off, you won't jump the shark, and you won't go off the deep end and do something that doesn't belong in the series.
Yeah.
Fringe kind of went there toward the end of its run.
Fringe, I mean, they still ended it. I got to give them credit. Like they still wrapped it up.
They knew that they were getting crazy.
Yes.
At the end. Yeah.
And so they had it, and it was good. I mean, I would say the worst season of Fringe is the first season of because of just how, I mean, it eventually ends strong, but the whole they were kind of rudderless for the whole first season, and then when they ended it, they were good, and then every season after that was great, especially immediately after that.
Do you have a DVD?
Do I have a DVD player?
No, the DVD of Fringe.
Oh, I do
you
not.
Have that series? Oh, I might re-gift that to you. So it might be something you would own.
Yeah, I love Fringe. I do. I really I have not revisited Fringe since it ended, so I need to kind of do that.
I would recommend that one highly to anybody. And then,
and that should have been what I think a lot of people sort of said, like that was the way to reboot like the X-Files, instead of how they did it, like that was a way to update it to like the modern era and like the digital era, and it be kind of sleek and interesting and all that, because it really did a good job with that. Whereas like the X-Files reboots struggled to like. The X-Files is such like an analog horror. Like that's the part of it, is this sort of VHS sort of grainy sort of, 90s grungy part of it. And so it never really knew how to be like, how do we make it now that we have like HD cameras and, 16:9, does it even look like the X-Files? And the answer is really no, it didn't ever really look like the X-Files, which is which is a shame that they never really figured that out. There were a few really good episodes of the reboot, especially the last season that they did, that there were some that updated it really good. There was one where Mulder and Scully were like dealing with there was one where like they were dealing with like smart devices and different things, and like that was very modern and everything, and that was really fun. And there was one that was like a comedy werewolf type thing, and then there was one that was like dealt with the Mandela effect and this idea that people these false memories and different things that they had, and that was a really good episode. So there were in this reboot some really good ones, but it was weighed down by all of that mythos that they had to do, like that so much of like, oh, the aliens and the invasion and the and they set up like 2012 as a time point and before when they ended, and having to answer that, and then their son William, and like there's just all of this
too much
cigarette smoking man, and what's his whole thing, and he's back now, and what does that mean, and it was just weighed down by all of this stuff.
They just needed to go back to the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, they didn't need to bring all those plot lines forward. I didn't need it, and I doubt that many real fans of the X-Files did either.
To me,
although I don't know, maybe they did. I don't know.
To me,
I think they were trying to. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if there were going to, as a huge X-Files, I mean, X-Files is my favorite TV show of all time. If they were to say, Cade, what would you do? There's two options, and they're both. I guess there's three options for how to continue the X-Files at this stage. Full reboot. Full recast Mulder and Scully, make it set in the 90s, make it just absolutely full reboot, which is heresy, because the one problem with that is you're not going to find two people on planet Earth that have more chemistry than David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson.
That is true. I agree.
And so you're already behind the eight ball with that concept. But it does wipe the slate clean, and you can just like make it pure vibes and pure everything, but you're just immediately there's not going to be, that's never going to be able to be recaptured.
Right.
Number two, you do it like they do all of these reboots now, where they like set a point in which everything's non-canon, and you do everything is non-canon after season 7 when Mulder goes up into that alien spaceship. Everything after that is when the X-Files went off the rails, and you reboot where all of that isn't canon anymore, and Mulder's just been gone for decades, and you have Scully out there. And then somehow he returns or whatever. So all the Doggett, Reyes, all that stuff is just gone.
Yeah.
William.
Oh,
I guess.
yeah.
I mean, she's pregnant technically at the end of it. She learns that, and you just have to figure that all that out. But all of the problems is out of there. So that's option 2. Option 3, if you just don't know what you want to do with it, make a I forget what the guy's name is now at the top of my head. Make a prequel to the X-Files set in the 60s, in which...
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
and the guy who invented the X-Files, like we had some flashback episodes, like I think that would be so cool just to make it set of like, here's the guy who opened the X-Files, and follow him through the decades of this X-Files, and like, so you won't mess up anything. You can have him... A lot of these case files existed before Mulder, so you can have him doing the Fluke Man and doing all of these different things during the time period, have him do Roswell. I mean, like all this stuff, and it be a prequel to X-Files. That's my pitch.
Great idea. I like that. I like that. You could do a little crossover with the Twilight Zone even.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of really really cool things that you can do. And you follow him through the 70s, 80s, and eventually, I guess, handing over the case files to the new kid.
The only thing is the production, and it might be kind of expensive now.
Yes.
Because as Emily pointed out to me, or was it Anna, anything 20 years or older is now vintage. So, holy shit. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, it is. It would be
just the cars.
It'd be very hard to do a whole series with all of that stuff, but it's possible if somebody wanted to throw money at it and everything. There's a story. I just gave it out for free to everybody.
Everybody, that was for free, wasn't it?
Yeah. There you go.
I like that one though. I like the reboot back into the '60s, that origin story kind of stuff. I always like that those things.
Boy. Okay. So Melancholia. That was everything that we wow. Okay. Sorry for
every time I
detouring
think
everybody.
about that, I was looking this up because I was thinking about this. Oh yeah, Black Klansman. Oh my God, I love that movie for its 70s references. He even drove a Pinto. I mean, how much better can it get? I know. Anyway, sorry. If they could go back to that era and do a X-Files, that would be like my dream. That would be my dream TV show.
I'm trying to look up what the guy was that who was the guy who invented the X-Files within.
Yeah, within that universe.
It's within that universe.
Well, I can tell you one thing: he was not in the Melancholia movie.
He was not,
and it's very, very doubtful that he suffered from the depression that Kirsten's, poor.
It is very doubtful.
Yeah, and Unknown was in there. The Gray. I was looking at other, stuff that came out in 2011. Yeah, well, we'd already talked about some of that, but Limitless. That's the only real Bradley Cooper movie that I like. It's Limitless, which we both have to watch. Maestro too, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
From what I read from all the awards rags, that it's like going to get a bunch of awards.
Yes. Well, I've heard that too. But yeah, okay. Well, so would you recommend people to watch Melancholia, Diane?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Well, I don't know exactly who enjoys watching movies about people going through depression, because it's triggering almost, and it's just I'm certain that this is a beautifully well done art house like movie. Mm-hmm. Like you said, at the time, it won a lot of awards, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not why I watch movies. I watch movies to be entertained, to be moved, to cry, to laugh, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I fell asleep during this movie. Wow. And the opening sequence was just like, oh my gosh. It was as bad as when I went to the dentist recently to have this bridge worked on. It was just painful. And the ending could not come soon enough. Maybe that was the goal of the movie, was to make you, really happy that the world was going to collide with something bigger. I don't know. In the end of all things. But no, I wouldn't recommend it. I just don't know anyone who would want to watch it at all. At least with Take Shelter, there were things you could take away from that movie about what it must be like for someone who is experiencing schizophrenia for the first time. Mm-hmm. And you really wanted to root for him, that he was going to be able to survive this and intact. There was no one to root for in this movie. Maybe that was the whole point of the Melancholia, is to not root for these people, because they're all going to die at the end. Spoiler alert, the world comes to an end. And they could have spent more time with the world coming to an end, in my personal opinion, than the wedding reception and the depression that this chick was going through.
Well, the other sister, I didn't find her as entertaining as Kirsten Dunst.
Who's crying? I got a crier in here. Who's crying? Are you crying?
It's a depressing movie.
Ollie slept through the whole thing. He kept his head under the covers.
I don't recommend it unless you wanted to watch it to do that. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was fine. But I wouldn't recommend you to watch it at all. Unless you're like me and you want to cross it off your list, and do it if you want to. That's Melancholia.
It would be crossed off the list. Just cross it off your list and save yourself the time. Unless you need a nap. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been my problem. I needed a nap, and because I don't normally fall asleep during movies, but this one I did.
Great.
Right.
Well, that is that movie. Now we're going to head into preview time. We're sorry for wasting your time with the X-Files talk.
Actually, the X-Files talk was the most fun talk. I think people would probably enjoy that more than anything.
Yeah.
That and Fringe. Oh, I love Fringe.
Yeah. You could tell how much we wanted to talk about the movie by our changes.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Great. Now we're going to head into preview time, where we preview upcoming attractions next week.
And now, preview time. When it comes to entertainment, you can't beat a good film. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
So let's take a look at what's coming your way. Well, next week here on Double Feature Movie Club, we have some interesting films. So next week we are doing a double feature on Kelly Reichardt. We really liked her Night Moves movie. That was the thing that we've watched previously of hers. She's done a few other things, but now we're going to check out some other ones that are highly recommended to us from her filmography. First, we're going to watch First Cow from 2019.
When I was talking to Ava about these movies, and she was like, well, does the cow get killed? I mean, I don't want to watch a movie if a cow gets killed. And so I had to read through the synopsis about what in the world is this movie about. And I thought, how interesting, a Western about the first cow that ends up in this region of the United States. And I thought, well, this could be an interesting movie. I'm liking it. I like a good Western.
Yeah.
Now that excludes anything made by John Wayne, but I really, there's some like wonderful Westerns out there. For a long time, Silverado was one of my favorite movies. So
well, there we go.
I'm hoping that this one is going to be great, and it's on Amazon.
Well, there you go. Yeah. First Cow on Amazon. And then the other movie that we're watching is a little film called Certain Women. And that's the one that she did right before that from 2016.
And it has a current potentially Oscar nominated,
Lily Gladstone.
Lily Gladstone.
And I think she's in both.
Is she really? Oh, yeah, she is. I see that. Oh, my.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of love that. This movie's on Tubi.
Tubi. Okay. We always have a Tubi movie on here.
I love me some Tubi, and I think they should sponsor us.
Yes.
In reality. We would watch only Tubi movies if they did that.
Yeah, we would. We would become the Tubi Presents Double Feature Movie Club.
Oh, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? A24 has got a ton of movies out on Tubi.
Well, I don't know if A24 does. Those are the two. So we watch we watch either A24 movies or Tubi films.
Yeah.
That's we would have to give up A24, I think.
Not completely.
Oh, well, we'll see.
I don't know.
So they it should be interesting. I mean that's Martin Scorsese said that's how he learned about Lily Gladstone was through Kelly's movies. And so that's
really?
And so that was kind of she was someone who routinely was in a lot of her movies, and so these are the two movies.
So far this year she has been my favorite leading lady in a movie.
I really liked Priscilla.
I know Priscilla was really, really good, but there's just something about Lily that's just not earthly. I don't know what the right word would be for that, but she's just ethereal in a sense.
Yes.
That you just haven't seen. I haven't seen on screen in a long, long time.
And Certain Women, in addition to Lily Gladstone, it has Laura Dern, Kristen Stewart, who has a,
I know.
we love Kristen Stewart here on Double Feature Movie Club, and
And
Michelle
Laura
Williams. Yeah, and Laura Dern. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so really great cast there. So yeah, it should be interesting. I'm excited to see more movies in general from this writer director. Gary Farmer's also in First Cow, so that's fun. He played Uncle Brownie in Reservation Dogs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He was recently in The Curse, which is an interesting little show. Nathan Fielder. But yeah, so those are the two movies we're watching. First Cow and Certain Women. And we'll be watching that next week here on Double Feature Movie Club, so be sure to join us. We are live here on Sundays. Right now we're doing 4 o'clock. We'll see if that sticks, Central. So that should... I'm enjoying it being there, but it also moves around, so just kind of watch out for when we do these. And so Sunday evenings, you can watch us live doing this thing, or you can listen to us next day wherever you get your podcasts. So whenever you see us anywhere, Diane, what should people do?
Click all the buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Like us, subscribe, send Cade an email.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're here for. We want to entertain you and tell you about what movies that you might have missed when they were in the theaters, but you can watch them now in any of your streaming devices. And like us, subscribe, click all the buttons, especially
5 stars.
Yes. 5 stars, thumbs up, everything you can think of. Yes. We're there for it.
And I have fun.
And Tubi, if you're listening.
Tubi, if you're listening, we'll change our entire format for you. No,
exactly.
we do a lot of Tubi anyways on here, and I enjoy their model. We've said that before. I think that
I think that a lot of these streaming services are like trying to figure out how to make money again, and I think. One of the things they could do is take a look at what they're doing with Tubi and the commercials and the format that they use. Because I don't mind commercials so much. I do record a lot of stuff and just fast forward through commercials a lot. But you don't have to in Tubi, and they don't interrupt you so much.
They do a really good job of where they do a good job of screening where they go now.
Yes, and they're not long. I mean, it's like, but you don't feel like you're getting a commercial every 8 minutes, which is what's happening everywhere else. So I think Apple and Disney and all these places are Netflix are all looking at how, can we insert ads? They need to be looking at what Tubi does, because Tubi, I think, is set the standard.
Their ads are different or whatever. I mean, like they, I like in comparison to like Hulu, I still have the ad-supported Hulu because I have it paired with my Spotify. And the idea, it's just too. I don't like Hulu's ads. I don't know what it is about it, but there's some sort of difference there, and in Tubi it doesn't bother me, and it may be the movies that we're watching where it's just kind of like a nice break, but they are.
Well, that's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, not all ads are created equal, and the Geico and the farmers, and they just do some great ads. And Jack in the Box ads. I sent you a composite of Jack in the Box ads. The ads that they pick are really good. Now, if you have ever watched cable news, anything is better than the ads that they put on the cable networks.
Might have mesothelioma.
Oh, my poor mom went through a phase. This is what it's like living, people with Alzheimer's, but she went through a phase where she was certain her mom died from that. Oh. And I would go to her, to her house every day, and she would have the telephone number for me to call to try to get, and I think to myself, thank God I took the phone out of here, because she would have already called them and given them whatever information they wanted. And I thought, this is just so wrong. This is so wrong. Anyway, no one cares about that kind of stuff.
No. I mean, that's what they. I mean, that is who they prey on and everything. And
they do. And Medicare ads right now are insane. And I mean, you don't see very many commercials that last a whole minute anymore, except for Medicare ads.
Yeah.
Holy cow. And it's amazing how long they are. But anyway, I digress. Cade?
Sorry. Nice talking to you, Diane. I'm glad it was only
As
us.
always.
We didn't bring in another person to be in this depressing
Oh my gosh.
mess
And
that
look
we
at my
did.
pretty lights back there. Where am I? Yes.
I like
This
you in the
makes me
darkness. I think that
I do
that-
kind of like the floating head thing going on here.
You look like,
right?
like Bob Fosse character or something.
Exactly. I kept thinking about that Saturday Night Live had that talking head thing
Yeah.
just as years ago before you were born. And yeah, it was really pretty comical. But yeah, I kind of like this.
Yeah.
I may do this again.
Yeah.
Should I add multicolored lights to my tree back there?
You
I don't
could.
know. Maybe.
You could.
Maybe.
I need to add something. I
You
can
need
add
something,
my
Christy.
Yeah, I need to do something Christmassy on my
Yeah.
set. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed it. Catch us next week when we talk First Cow and Certain Women. And see you next time. Bye.
Bye.